Good evening. And first of all, welcome to June, and welcome to the June 1st meeting of the Putnam Valley Board of Education. Please stand and join me as we salute our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I really do feel like we were holding our September meeting about 2 weeks ago, and here it is, our first meeting in June. To start, I'd like to resolve to approve the minutes for the Board of Education meetings of May 2nd, 11th, and 18th, 2017.
Second.
Questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
I'd like to make an announcement that the Treasurer's Report for April 2017 is available in the business office. And now my favorite part. It is time for Pride in Putnam Valley. Just to writing for me. My writing is wrong.
This is a very special moment for us this evening. First of all, I have to apologize a bit, and on the other hand, I'm sort of pleased. Tonight we go through our district goals, and for some of our teachers who are going to be appointed this evening, it's going to be a long night. But I consider it, and we could consider it part of the orientation, because you're going to learn about what we're about through the goals process. So what I wanted to do to start is we're starting with the Putnam Valley Pride, and we're giving it tonight, the award is to the Magnus soccer program. And really, this is a fitting way to introduce the goals for the district, because this particular initiative was a student-driven initiative. And really, what we are about is trying to give students a voice, giving them a sense of agency, giving them that sense that they can make a difference in the world. That's what we're trying to do as a district. So in this instance, what we're seeing is exactly the demonstration of that impetus to do good and to make the world better. And that's what the Magma program is about. Ms. Doherty, would you come up with me? Our assistant superintendent, she has been very actively involved in supporting this program, because the goal of the program is to allow students with disabilities who may not have the opportunity to get out there on the athletic fields and be part of a team process to actually enjoy that, to have that opportunity to enjoy playing with others in a positive way, and with the help and support of those people that young ones idolize, the older teens. So it's a wonderful program also because parents of these students who come out on those Sundays get an opportunity to see that their kids can be with other kids and be okay in a safe place. So it's a very special program, and we want to honor the students who have been involved. I know that Ms. Doherty was one of the major supporters early on in the program. So,
I think one of the things that I was so impressed with when the students first started this program was that they did everything, like the lesson plans and the scheduling and just really all of the outreach that was done, and the program really grew. And I was able to sit back and watch sort of as an outsider on Sunday mornings and watch some students that I knew, that I worked with, and watch them truly be a part of a team and learn how to be part of a team and to grow. And they still, every time they see me in the hallway, some of them, when they see me in the hallway, they still associate me with the soccer field sometimes and say, do you remember when I kicked blah, 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 and tell me about a story and just remind me of their good memories of their experiences. And their parents, I have to tell you, remain forever grateful for the opportunity that our students provided them. Very often, they don't have a lot of experiences or a lot of opportunities to participate in activities that are team building, that are skill building, and that allow them to make mistakes and to grow and change in a safe environment. And you really created that for them. And I know that their parents are very grateful for all of your hard work. Thank you.
So with that, we're going to present the Pride in Putnam Valley Awards. And we'd like to start with Lucas Askew. Lucas? Did I see you last night in the band too? Yeah. See, in the band, just a marvelous contributor to so many of our school programs. Thank you, Lucas. Why don't you stay up here and then we'll have a picture at the end. Next we have Meredith Conlon. Wait, did I miss? Oh, I was gonna. I thought, really, well, okay.
Your hair's not red enough.
By the way, anything's possible, so I am completely thankful. Another one of our wonderful contributors to student work. Okay, next we have Maddie Deegan.
That's Morgan.
They're doing this on purpose.
I know, they truly are.
That's not her. Congratulations, your sister. Thank you. Next, we have Morgan Winograd. Okay. These are very, very, very busy people. And it's true. They're busy from morning till night with activities, with schoolwork, for all of their interests. And that sense of camaraderie that you're seeing right now is part of this program. It's what it's about. When they get together to work with the little children on Sundays, it's a real sense of team. And I know it's very enjoyable for everyone. And next, Mark Zadrima. There he is. Now I know. Yes, okay. I knew that. So we appreciate everything that you've done, and we want to make sure this program continues. It's a wonderful.
Are there more people? The magma. Are they having G in there?
Speak.
Hello, everybody. My name is Mark Zadrima. This is Lucas Asque and Morgan. And our other two current leaders, Maddie Deegan and Meredith Conlon, cannot be with us tonight. In October of 2013, a group of Putnam Valley sophomores began working on developing a special needs soccer program for the community. The first Magma session was held in the spring of 2014. We started with 9 participants and 21 student volunteers. Since then, we have run 2 one-hour sessions for 6 to 8 weeks each, fall and spring. This spring was our 7th session. We had 20 participants and 43 high school student volunteers. We are here today because we would like to thank everyone who has supported us.
We would like to, we would like to thank our school administrators, teachers, and Board of Ed members, Dr. Wills, Mrs. Doherty, Mrs. Figuerella, Mr. Bellino, Mr. Burrow, Mrs. Podesta, and Mrs. Mistretta, Mrs. Orgemma, Miss Boyle, Mrs. Grafmuller, Mrs. Mataloni, Mrs. McCarty, Mrs. Morgan, Miss Roth, and Mrs. Whalen. Mrs. DeNike, Mr. Bracken and his staff, Mrs. Bellino, Mr. Smith, and Mr. Spittle. We would also like to thank our student athletes and their families, Natalie, Sophia, Anthony, Andrew, Francis, Nicholas, Luke, Sydney, Sienna, Frankie, Caitlin, Liam, Tristan, Reese, Carter, Evan, Emily, Eduardo, Anthony, Michael, Angel, and Rydell.
We'd also like to thank all of our volunteers. So that's Sarah Anabi, Marissa Back, Ryan Beckel, Malia Brophy, Arbin Brukai, Melissa Clements, Caitlin Cohen, Chris Crawford, Sabrina Cross, Mia Devukai, Jesse Denike, Shannon Denizzo, Amnia Elgendi, Raquel Escoto, Alex Fuchs, Kevin Gallo, Sydney Goldberg, Justin Gonzalez, Isabel Healy, Christina Huynh, Kim Heineman, Chloe Lemire, Jack Longden, Ryan Marsh, Gabe Moyes, Ili Mariki, Liron Mariki, Angelica Ordonez, Gianna Patino, Karina Perez, Brianna Ritchie, Michael Reichart, Emma Rippon, Julianne Sanospirito, Alex Sirico, Suri Soliyav, Keiko Waters, and Luke Zadrima. And we'd also like to encourage the district to try and help us develop additional recreational programs, especially for the children with special needs. The parents of the children who participate in our programs are always so excited when they see their kids, especially afterwards, and socializing, having fun with all their friends. It would be great if we could offer them more of these opportunities. Some of our founding members now would like to speak and give a couple words about participation.
Hi, my name is Andrew Spittle. This is Ashley Volpe, Harrison Deegan, Max Martins, Grace Mazza, Maddie Winograd, and many of our other volunteers. The reason I named them were because they were, along with myself, the founders of Magma 4 years ago. And when we started it our sophomore year, we really didn't know what to expect, what we would get out of it, how many kids would show up, how successful would it be. And I think we can say now, looking back, that it worked out pretty well. We talk a lot about about the amazing strides the kids make and the impact it has on their families every day. But I would like to take a second to say something about the impact it makes on us volunteers also. Last year when we graduated, we all had to write our college essays, and Mr. Lathrop, the English teacher, came up to me and asked me about the program. And he said that, I don't need the mic. He said that he didn't know what it was, but he was curious because he was helping people with their college essays, and he had about 10 or 11 kids writing their college essays about the Magma program and the impacts it had. And I think that just speaks for itself about how impactful it was. And then just for us 6, Max, Grace, and Harrison are all pursuing majors in education at their respective colleges. And through the Magma program, it sparked an initiative that they are now looking to pursue actually special education in that field, possibly a career in that in their future. Ashley said that after seeing the different effects that certain disabilities had on the kids that were in our program, it made her want to become an occupational therapist to help kids with a lack of motor skills in the future. Maddie said that Magma solidified her choice of nursing major and a potential career in working in pediatrics. And for myself, the leadership qualities I gained through Magma and the experience I had helped me get a position in a exclusive Garthwaite Leadership Center at my school as a freshman, and has definitely furthered my ability to be a leader in many other fields. And I think for all of us, it's impacted us greatly and will continue to give us many things that we can't see now, but will help us in the future a lot. So that's all. Thank you guys, and hopefully it continues on for many years to come.
Thank you all so much for everything you've done for others and for our school district. You certainly make us proud to be part of Putnam Valley. Thank you.
Dr. Wills, I'd like to say a couple of words. I pulled out my phone because the first time we spoke, we heard from Anders and the others who make up the name of Magma was May 22nd, 2014 at a board meeting. And that day they all got recognized, and about 6 other sophomores got recognized for different things in that day. And I remember as Anders was walking off, I said, Anders, what grade are you all in? And he said a sophomore, and I wrote in my phone, OMG, what are they going to be like as seniors? And now we're seeing them as seniors and beyond. And it is such a personal thing for me, because I started my road of social work when I was a sophomore and started teaching special needs CCD on Saturdays. And it really does open up your life in a way you don't realize it's going to. And I just want you to know that the rewards you get doing that is what you give to all of us in this room when we watch you. So thank you very, very much. And keep this program going. Thank you. They were a tough act to follow in 2014
Hey, you guys
as
are
well.
supposed to stay for the entire meeting. You're not allowed to leave.
No, our thanks to them is that they can go home. We're going to try. Okay.
Each year, the district begins the year, actually in August, with a session that we hold with the Citizens Advisory Committee and representatives of the school district. And we talk about what our goals will be for the following year. And we use our mission statement as a grounding force. Child first and foremost. Most people know that that is our, those are the words we live by here. And we try to build a set of goals that we are focusing on for the year that we can all agree upon. And it's a time for reflection and a time for planning. So this year, once again, we had a set of goals which we present. We do that in September, and now it's June. And we're presenting the update, the final update on what we did this year in attempting to attain those goals. And, from this we will see the areas that we need to improve upon and indeed where we need to go for the following year. So we're going to start with the communications goals, and Ms. Vestretta is going to talk about those.
Good evening, Jeanette Mistretta, Assistant Principal at the elementary school. So I'm going to go through our communication goals, our 5 goals for this school year. Goal 1 is to enhance communications among staff members in order to strengthen authentic collegiality by sharing experiences, skills, strategies, and successes. So many of our mid-year updates continued into the spring, so I'm just going to briefly highlight some of those. Co-teaching and co-teaching training and coaching have continued to take place this year and will continue into the month of June. At the elementary school, we have continued our principal and assistant principal meetings with our non-tenured staff. Our collaborative coaching with Liza Levine has continued, and as always, teacher sharing at faculty meetings, department meetings, and grade level meetings. At the elementary school this year, we began classroom visitations, time for non-tenured teachers to visit tenured teachers' classrooms and observe. We just had our second round completed in May. And our new teachers took a survey and provided feedback for consideration and next steps, and it was really, really good positive feedback. And one of the questions that we asked was some of their and really that this program continues. At the high school, the middle school, the principal and assistant principal continue to hold weekly and after-school meetings with our untenured teachers, and the assistant principal meets with mentors to help advise. Scroll down. It's not moving. Oh wait, there we go. And at the high school, our revised mentoring plan has been completed and approved by the Board of Education to be implemented in the 17-18 school year. Our second goal was to recognize the needs of the multiple communities we serve for communications. Okay. So at school, hard copy report cards and progress reports were mailed home again this spring. The report cards were also available on PowerSchool. And we're very excited about our new digital sign down at the entrance by the road to the elementary school. So thank you for that, Mr. Bellino. At the middle school, paper copy of report cards were sent home again mid-year, and there will be paper report cards sent home in June, along with the iReady assessment reports. At the high school, paper report cards were implemented for the second semester, and 2 surveys sent to the faculty on technology tools. Our third goal was to evaluate our current student information system, PowerSchool, to explore new ways to directly communicate with parents. So this year, a group of teachers and parents tested the PowerSchool mobile app, and the feedback was very positive. After the upgrade this summer to PowerSchool 10, we will be launching the PowerSchool mobile app. And this app has many features, including notifications and updates about student grades, attendance, assignments, and schedules. Our fourth ongoing goal was to promote and download the use of the Putnam Valley app. Across the district, we continue to promote the use of our PV app. At the elementary school, it was recently shared at our kindergarten orientation, where we had many new families that were new to the district entering their child for the first time. So they were all sitting in the conference room downloading that. There was continued use of the app at the middle and high school, and also with the athletic department. Oh, that's an update. There has been 1,781 downloads of the app, and it continues to grow. So that's wonderful. Our fifth goal was to consider a fall newsletter, which we did, and the update to that is that a budget newsletter was printed and disseminated. The newsletter included information on student achievements and activities at each of the school buildings, and the EPC plan was thoroughly discussed. A postcard was mailed to every resident, encouraging them to subscribe to our electronic newsletter and to other periodic communications. And that is our updates for communication. Thank you.
The heart of what we do is our curriculum and instruction work, our actual the academics, the knowledge that we attempt to develop, the thinking that we attempt to develop with our students. And the communication piece is exceptionally important because it's the way we let people know in the community who we want to have as supporters for our school district, to let them know about what we're doing. So it means a lot to us. Later on, we're going to have some further discussion about communication when we talk about fiscal area. So we'll start with providing opportunities for staff to strengthen and facilitate culturally responsive classrooms where we ensure sensitivity to all students and parents, and respect, understanding, and dignity in all encounters. And we have continued this year, following the training with the joint, the action network that we joined at BOCES, to look at what we do in the light of how we ensure that all students are seen as individuals, are treated with respect. We've had many conversations, and including a community circle, to talk about issues that divide us that we need to come together to understand. And some of those have to do with how we treat all our students with dignity, those with special needs, those who practice other religions, other ethnic practices and groups in our school district. And This is something where we've had conversations with parents to ensure that we are sensitive to our students. For example, we sent a message out to staff this week about Ramadan. We do have students in our school who will be fasting this month, and our teachers need to understand and take that into account, at least as to what these students are experiencing for the next month. And it's this type of communication that we feel is important. This summer, we will be trained, our administrators will be trained, and also a teacher team from each school in the Yale Ruler Program, which is a program that helps both staff and students to learn to take account of their emotional response at various times in the classroom, how they're coming to the table in a classroom, how the students and staff are responding to the work that they are doing, and to promote a positive climate in the school where everyone is conscious and mindful of how they are treating each other and how they are behaving, and learning strategies to help improve that behavior. We also started an anonymous alerts program. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that at a later time this evening. But we've had 111 notices from students, parents, others on the anonymous alerts program since we started in January. So this is an opportunity for students, parents, anyone who has witnessed any situation that concerns them with students, whether it's a bullying situation or some self-harm that they've seen or threats that they may have noted. These are, the anonymous alert system allows the parents or the student to communicate, and they do, and they have communicated, and these are all followed up by our administrative teams. So I see all of them. They come to me and to first, and we make sure that they are followed up. Our administrators are excellent in doing this. And at first, of course, the first few weeks, there were a lot of some students need to learn how to use it appropriately. And more recently, we see that they're being used. Students are concerned about a friend or someone who they're seeing maybe feeling that there is a difficulty. We also, as I mentioned, I had the community circle in March where we actually met of community members, and teachers, other staff members, administrators, and some students as well, to talk about respect and to talk about how we understand differences and how we appreciate how other people are feeling, what is the road that they're walking. And we did a number of exercises, Ms. Intrieri and myself facilitated. We did some exercises to deepen our understanding. There's also something that we have been noticing, our students, our teachers, and our clinical members have noticed that the social emotional needs of our students have become more obvious to us. And I'd like to ask Ms. Doherty to come up as we discuss this matter, because we have been working hard to include our students in the mainstream classes. And at this point, we feel that we need to look at some alternative measures and approaches to wrestle with, really, it's been noted as a national problem, the problem of depression and mental health issues that cause behaviors that are very difficult to manage in the regular classroom. I'll ask Ms. Doherty to follow up on this particular issue.
Sure. So one of the things that I do every year is meet with the clinical staff, teachers, administrators, and some of the needs that started to emerge over this past year. Last September, we went from 8 students that needed out-of-district placements at the high school to 15. And some had moved in, some had just really had these growing needs, emotional needs. Majority of them were social emotional needs. And over this past year, we started to look at some of the 8th and 9th graders, some of their needs as they transition into the high school. So we decided to look at our students that were placed in out-of-district placements to see if we could bring them back, if we could create the supports that they need. So some of the things, I'll just give you some brief numbers. 3 of our students that are out of district are graduating this year with Regents diplomas, which is great. 2, we believe we can bring back into the district. 1 middle schooler who will be coming back next year, we believe we are able to bring him back if we create a supportive environment. And then there are 2, anywhere between 2, conservatively 2 to 4 students that we believe that are in danger of us needing to place them in outside programs next school year. So we met a few times with Dr. Wills, with guidance, clinical staff, and the Ms. Intrieri and Mr. O'Connor, and talked about some alternative programs that we could look at, bring into the district. Some of those really tie in nicely, I believe, with a lot of the SELF program that we are starting with sustainability, active engagement learning, expeditionary learning, and then also a model of what's called dialectical behavior therapy, DBT. And that's really the emotional support that we can have our teachers trained in. We're looking at probably 1 to 2 teachers, adding 1 to 2 teachers at the high school next year. If we do that, with the money that we would be saving in bringing back our students and the money that we're saving on sending students out again, I believe that we could certainly support that. I would work closely with Jill Figuerella, our business official, with Dr. Wills, and certainly look at making sure that we can support that and sustain that. So that's really what we're looking at. We need to be able to, inclusion, and again, you've heard me say this over and over, inclusion is not about a placement. It is really about what do our students need? How do we meet those needs? How do we meet them within our school environment to the best of our ability? And sometimes that is through smaller class placements. And when they do need that, there are so many opportunities for them to be included to be included in extracurricular activities or electives, and even lots of times if we can create a schedule that allows flexibility for them to go in between co-taught classes or general education classes or the smaller class placements, we're able to really have them achieve at much higher levels and still care for their emotional well-being at the same time, their social emotional well-being. So I think that, with looking at all of our numbers, I think that 1 to 2 teachers, 1 primarily in English, and 1 for math science.
Sorry, would
duly
they be
certified.
special education students, or is it?
Yes.
Okay.
They're classified students, yeah.
Nothing for the
identified.
middle school or the elementary school?
We do have some strong programs that are supporting our students in the middle school. I think as we have begun to shift and really push students out and challenge our students, just recreating that at the high school is going to allow us a better balance between creating small class placements for students and still having high academic standards. So I think that with all of the, you can't watch the news without hearing about a lot of the social and emotional needs that teenagers are facing all over this country right now, and we are not unique. Ossining is starting to bring back the Walkabout program. There are other school districts. Yorktown Haldane just created St. Basil's, a program right off of their campus. We hope to do that within our campus, just a little bit differently. Yorktown started adding some more classes and different approaches, behavioral approaches, for their social emotional well-being. And I think that we need to equally respond to our students' needs. So, you want to speak?
Okay, thank you very much. So when I mentioned that, it's a period of reflection as we go through the year, at the end of the year, we do reflect on what the issues are. When you look at some of our, even the anonymous alerts, point out to us that there are problems that we are here to address so that students can get their education in a productive way here in our school district if we can. And it is not surprising that you will see most districts trying to set something up, something in place, put something in place that will provide that home for students that they need in order to succeed. And in some cases, once you have a program established, then you can also offer the opportunity to students in other districts if this is a program that meets needs that they have as well and becomes a sharing aspect. The next goal was to improve student achievement through the improvement of literacy, critical thinking, study, research skills aligned K-12. So what we are going to look at now are some of the work. We'll be looking at some of the work that's been done both in literacy and in math to meet some of our objectives in that we wanted to ensure that classrooms provide instruction in the 5 components of reading, and there's much in the goals about what we believe a reading program must have: a phonemic awareness, vocabulary, consistent practice, best practices in reading, writing, and speaking, looking at benchmark assessments so that we can build on the data we have, and the same kind of a program in terms of seeing the data in math. So we're looking at data in English, and we're looking at data in reading, and looking at the data from math from some of the assessments. We don't have the state assessments back, and we still struggle with the refusals that we've had, not as great to great an extent at the elementary school. But we know from some of our benchmark assessments we do have some information that we want to share, and we're still struggling with what is the best way to actually teach literacy, and we're not alone. This is a common issue that you hear in every district where you're trying to find the balance between some didactic learning and the really positive and powerful literature, information seeking, and book attraction that we also want to develop in our students. We want them to be readers, and it is today a real challenge to ensure that they become readers. There is a much higher standard now for what is required. So with that, I would like to have Ms. Kahn and Mr. Coleman come up and present their findings.
Hi, Cheryl Kahn. I'm the K-8 Literacy Coaching Coordinator this year. And Mr. Coleman and I put together some of the iReady student growth data that we have for the middle school students who took 3 diagnostic benchmarks this year with the iReady program. I started with a little cartoon. Although we're data-driven, we can't focus just on the data. We have to use a lot of other information along with the data to make sure that we're thinking about the whole child. The iReady Reading Diagnostic has 6 components, so students are asked questions on phonological awareness, phonics, high-frequency words, vocabulary, comprehension of literature, and comprehension of informational text. So for our 5th graders, like I said, they took 3 diagnostic tests. So we are looking at the first one they took in the fall on top, and then the last one they just took in May on the bottom. And so, do I have a cursor? Oh, I like that. So more than one grade level below, we started with 34 students in the fall and in 5th grade, and now we only have 23 students who are more than one level below. less than a level below, we started with 31 students. Of course, we stayed with 31 because some moved up from the more than one level below. But on or above grade level, we went from 53 to 63. So our students are all moving in the right direction. At the end, you'll see a percentage also, but this was direct student numbers. 6th grade, again, fall is on the top and spring is on the bottom. So there were 35 students more than one grade level below in the fall and only 21 more than one grade level below in the spring. 29 less than one level below, and now 31, again, because some of them moved up. And then on or above grade level, 76 in the fall, and now 83. So again, all of our students are moving in the right direction. 7th grade, again, we see some movement. Unfortunately, it's a little bit back and forth, but there is still some decrease. So students are moving. Of course, we have all the names attached to this, so we can delve much deeper into which students are moving where and what are some of the possible reasons why. And then in 8th grade, same thing, we have a decrease in the more than one level below. And then little bit of stagnation. Sometimes hormones come into the play there. This is the percentage with the student numbers. So it tells you exactly how many students took the test. There's a little variation based on, of course, some students did move. Some students were absent and just haven't taken or finished the diagnostic yet. So the numbers are not exactly the same. So the percentages might help also. The top is the fall and the bottom is the spring.
Hi, Mick Coleman. I am the math AIS teacher at the elementary school and the ISS person for the middle school and the elementary school. Here are the components of the Math iReady diagnostic test. Here is the fall and spring for 5th grade at the middle school. And you'll notice there were 26 kids, one greater than one level behind. And in the spring, there were 11. There were 43 kids, one level behind. And in the spring, there were 24. There were 47 students on or above grade level in the fall. And now there are 84 in the spring. So we made some fine growth there. And here again in the 6th grade, in the fall and the spring, 26 greater than one level behind, and in the spring, 11. And these are actual student numbers. In the fall, there were 58 students, and then there were 35 students in the spring. And in the fall, there were 56 students on or above grade level, and in the spring, there were 88 students. Again, some fine growth in 6th grade. Here's 7th grade. In the fall, there were 28 kids, and in the spring, 21. In the fall, there were 56, and in the spring, 31. And in 7th grade, in the fall, there were 61 students on or above grade level, and in the spring, there were 85 students on or above grade level. In 8th grade, in the fall, 36 students, and 35 students in the spring. In the fall, 41 students. In the spring, 28 students. On or above grade level, 50 students in the fall. And again, there was growth. There were 64 students in the spring on or above grade level in 8th grade. Here again are some percentages attached to those numbers. So you can see just by looking at the green that we've made fine growth from the fall to the spring at the middle school. And at the elementary school, we're going to take the second iReady diagnostic test in the next few weeks, so we'll have similar data for math. Questions?
Other questions?
I have a few.
Sure.
All these numbers, the details on the who, that includes the entire class. So you might have classified students that are in these numbers as well?
Yes.
Do you have, if we go by the standard number of, what, 13%? Is it 13%?
13.2.
That, not that they all fit into those categories, but we could assume that a larger number of those classified students would be in the category of tier 1 or tier 2 or tier 3. And does the grade level distinction change throughout the year, or is it the definition of on grade level the same in October as it is in May?
Well, it speaks of, early 5th grade, mid 5th grade, and late 5th grade, so it does change as they
So the standard
progress.
changes?
Yes, as they progress.
So,
Yeah.
so those people that were on mark in fall would also, that would change, so they have to catch
They
up
have
to
to
that.
show growth
They have to
to be
improve.
on mark
Yes.
again.
They can't stay stagnant.
And then I'm assuming that some of this this work ties into the RTI program this is all middle school, so whatever the RTI program in its incarnation now, this plays a big part in those placements or additional, the writing workshop or whatever else they've got going on.
Well, at the middle school, so we got last year around this time, we got information like raw data from the state on the state assessment. So we were able to generally place the students in Math AIS and ELAIS. When we took the first diagnostic, then we were able to use that information to adjust the classes. So if kids had improved and were able to leave the AIS program, they could, and those who needed to now be placed in the AIS program, they were placed in the AIS program.
And my last question, I guess, at this point, the 8th grade math, there is no algebra in 8th grade currently, correct? I mean, the algebra class is no longer what it was 2 years ago, so it's just a math 8, correct?
Right.
Algebraic thinking is one of the.
Right, but it's not as specific, it's not that same class that
Right.
it was.
Right, so all of the students are taking
They're
this.
all taking the same class. There's
Yes.
no division of.
Right.
And I just wanted to add, when you were asking about data, in math, it's basically state test data and iReady data, but for reading, we have a lot of other data that we use. There are our entering 5th graders, we have DRA information, as well as many of our special ed students, we have DRA informal reading assessments. We also use the RTI data at the middle school that we did hold weekly meetings on each grade level, so students were recommended for Math AIS or Reading AIS based on some of the data and some of the teacher suggestions. Of course, we use the iReady data. We also use word lists. We use the ELA class grades as well as teacher recommendation for AIS. And our 2 reading teachers at the middle school, Liz McCormick and Alyssa Tripaldi, have been amazing this year in gathering that data and keeping it all current, because just like Mr. Coleman said, students sometimes reach that point where they really don't need the support. And so they're released so that other students can gain access to that support.
And you can also, can you share all this data with parsing out those that are classified?
We actually have a huge spreadsheet I could share with you another time that has every student and every service they have, as well as all of the informal data, so that we can look across a student and know exactly what their needs are.
I just have to comment that our support here, instructional support, has included this incredible data set that has been put together so that we're not just looking at one test or one piece of data. The DRAs, for example, at the elementary level are individual student assessments where a student sits down with a teacher, and it's a lengthy process. That is doable and is really recommended at the elementary level when you have a class of 25 or so, but it's very difficult to do that when you're meeting with double or triple that number. But it is a way to provide another perspective on how a student is doing. And there are many, many pieces to this data set that some districts have programs that they purchase to create these, some of our local districts around here. But actually, Cheryl has put together, and with Mick, the numbers, the remarkable sort of spread. So you can use that for RTI. We have a much more sophisticated RTI program now than we've had at both, at all the schools. And here at the high school, they have RTI regular meetings as well. And they are tracking students very, very closely for how they're doing in classes. I see it on a regular basis. Every student is looked at with the possible failures and how do you work with them, what kind of support do they need, critical support, and so on. It's a very thorough process. We really are honing in on the individual child.
Can you, I just an observation and not a criticism of any kind, but the math progress seems to be dramatic, whereas the ELA not so much. And can you reflect on why that might be the case?
Well, where we've seen, first of all, I have to say that there are very strong opinions about how ELA should be taught and how it should be done. And that's true across the board, everywhere in every district. There are many perspectives. I taught English and I taught reading. At the middle level, I taught English at high school. That was my field. And my preference in teaching is to take a book and work on it and dig in and use that as my tool for the whole process. And to do a lot of really, a lot of work around how you scaffold understanding of a book and so on, and to make sure that we make it interesting and powerful and exciting for students so they become readers. That is not always the most effective tool, however, when you're dealing with students who don't have really the acquaintance with books at something that we might assume at home or in the community. And so we are dealing with where the students are, and some students need a much more structured model. And the problem is, if we just rely totally on teacher autonomy to do this, we aren't ensuring a certain learning experience for every child. So if we don't see vocabulary in every classroom being done in a certain way, we don't know how we are going to create that consistency. We don't want consistency so that it becomes something that we script, but we want to make sure that all the standards are taught. And so there has to be some accountability for that. And the problem is sometimes that's difficult to assure. Some teachers are still resistant in some ways to some of the things that we are offering, but where we're finding there is a sense of dedication to the process and a trust in the process, we're seeing a lot of very good results. And so our job is to build that confidence, build that trust among the teachers that what we are actually presenting is something that will actually benefit students across the board. So not all students took these assessments with the same fidelity. They did not necessarily feel, we believe, feel that, and we've got reports on that this is something that they really should do and do well on. I have always believed, my own personal belief, is that we always try to do our best, and we try to get our students to have that same attitude, but we all have to be on the same page, and that's what we're working toward. One of the positive things that has been happening, we've had meetings with ELA teachers, meetings with math teachers. Both Cheryl and Mick are really visible in the classrooms, actually coaching and teaching in the classrooms, modeling. And we've had some wonderful ELA coordination meetings that have been held. But this is a deep subject. It's something that is not universally accepted that there's one way. You've heard about these conflicts. They've been visible in the media and so on. So we're still working on this, and we believe that we're on the right track. Here's one of the things that's very positive. At our middle school, we have a new assistant principal with a great deal of experience and background in ELA, who has been very successful and in her milieu. And when you have an administrator with that kind of background, it really helps with that administrative approach. We think that partners, Cheryl is going back into the classroom this year for a good part of the day, and will do the instructional work as part of her work, not the full literacy coach, because now we also, so now we have an administrator with a lot of that background. We also have the director of learning coming into the district, who also has experience with the same kinds of conflicts in the district he was at. So I see it as learning together, collective learning. How do we do this the best? What's the best for our students? There's some incontrovertible fact that we're seeing here in terms of the data we're getting from certain grades, and we have to try to build an investment in what's the best for students. And yet we don't want to make anything drudgery. We're not interested in drudgery here. We want to have an exciting ELA program, and it can be done with practice as well. So one of the things we know about learning as well is that you have to practice. It doesn't matter what the learning is, whether you're on the softball field or you're in basketball or you're playing the piano or you're reading. If you don't read a lot, you will not be able to manage the reading process. So how we are trying to create a situation where people are actually reading, where kids are reading, and we want them to like reading. We also want them to be able to demonstrate that they understand the reading and that they can analyze questions.
One
So
other quick
it's
thing.
complicated.
I also noticed.
I can go on because it's
I know,
complicated.
that's why I'm trying to
Stop
cut you
it
off.
right
We're
here.
not, we have 28 pages
It's
of
the
data
gong,
review.
it's the gong
But
show.
just
I'm out.
quick, just to
Nobody
cut
even
you
knows
off
what the
and
gong
get you
show
on.
is.
But it looked like
I do, Fran, and I will get the hook.
Fran, it looked like 7th and 8th grade was the biggest, where there actually, we didn't make hardly any movement there. And as the kids got younger, we made more. Is there something to that?
Well, there is something,
there?
and that is that we've started Foundations, which is a very strong program in language. We started that several years ago, and some of the students who are in 7th and 8th grade haven't had that benefit of that early. So there is this longitudinal piece. And I think the most exciting thing for me is watching teachers work together and try to figure this out. That is the best, because they really want the kids to learn. And yes, we have our passions and we have our way and we think this is the right way, but when we learn to listen to one another and say, oh, how did you get the kids to succeed so well in this? Because we go over the questions and we do this, collaboratively. How did you get your students to succeed in this particular essay writing? Or this? And then you learn, oh, I see what you did. I'm going to try that. Here's something that worked for me. And you have that kind of dialogue. This isn't a recipe. It's really complicated. What we know is that our brains are not built to read. Reading means that our brain has to actually be impacted in a different way. Different synapses have to be called into play in order for us to learn to read. And so it's a struggle.
Dr. Wills, the one thing you said before, which I think is really telling, is, I don't want to get bogged down. We need the data, and we use the data. But I want everyone, our teachers, to, in their heads, be able to translate that data to individual students in their mind. Just to give people who are non-educators in the room, there's a correlation between reading 2 grade levels below in 3rd grade and not graduating high school. I know that sounds crazy, with all those years, but this is urgent. And I think we can get caught up in 12 and 10, but every teacher needs to know John isn't reading at grade level. So every assignment I give John, I have to think about that. So that's, to me, more important.
I was going to piggyback on that and say, the 6 areas, we know exactly which students need help in exactly which area and how much help they need in each area.
Perfect.
So it really is giving us data that we never had access to before for middle school students.
Cheryl started working on this, we did not have this data. Teachers had to pull it out themselves.
Right, that needs to be sitting in their heads as they're looking at their classroom every minute. So that's great.
I was also going to add, for Nicole Mangieri has been in almost constant contact with me over the last month. We've done a lot of work. We met with the librarians over at the public library about the summer reading program that we're trying to kind of revitalize a little bit at the middle school. So she although officially isn't working yet, has done a whole lot of work with us already. So I'm very
Terrific.
excited about the positive changes.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you very, very much.
All right.
I'm going to move more quickly through these right now because
Thanks, Mary.
You're doing good.
this was the major
Absolutely.
piece. These will be posted and we'll also post the
Microphone.
we're going to post, of course, these goals will be posted in the updates, and also the graphs and the presentations will be posted as well. The other area that we really focused on was engaged learning. And again, what we know about learning is that unless you're actively involved and you interact with others about what you've learned, you really don't internalize the learning, and it doesn't become part of you. So we've been actively involved in training in IDE. We started with the middle school, and by the way, we've hired some wonderful teachers, one of whom is here tonight, who have learned the IDE program and will be involved with us in their districts. They were involved in it. And IDE, Innovation, Design and Education, is actually a way to ensure that students have agency in the classroom and therefore take ownership of their learning, take direction in learning. I see Ms. Vanderbilt is here, and her program with Ms. Conlon, the Arch for Kids, was basically the kind of IDE program that we're looking at, where students take their learning, apply it in something that they do collaboratively with others, and therefore the learning has meaning and it's internalized. So we're also looking at the IB program at the high school, where as I mentioned, we had the Arch for Kids program here with the architects. We had 3 classes involved in that. We're working with SELF to do the CEL, that's the Children's Educational Literacy Foundation, Environmental Literacy Foundation, and they're going to be working on our curriculum that will be connected to our EPC project, our energy project. So we've done programs, we've had programs that, and we continue to, advance those programs and plan to use them over the next several years to enhance the level of engagement in the classroom. And it's been really powerful. One of our math teachers presented at the curriculum project at BOCES on engagement. He has a class where he's a flipped learning, flipped classroom, where the students will watch a video clip on the assignment the night before, then come in and do answer questions that are essential questions about the learning. They do that together in groups, and they sort of vote on the responses and then have to explain their responses. These are really powerful ways to promote learning. Trying to move a little more quickly. I just wanted to mention the maker spaces at the elementary school and at the middle school. We had the Makerspace Fair yesterday for the second group in the Maker Club, but also the teachers have written a curriculum for that. So a teacher at the elementary school goes into the Makerspace and can find the curriculums. Teachers have written those. It was Jen Bruno, I believe, and Ms. Broas worked together on this. They sign out the room. They have the lesson plans there. And these are, again, collaborative learning experiences. They connect with science, with the next gen standards, and also with all of the subject areas. English comes into play as they write about it, and the math, and so on. As far as the conversations among teachers, there's a new mentoring plan that was designed. Actually, Mr. Odell and Ms. Intueri worked on it together, presented it to PVFT. It's been, I was brought on board, so was Ms. Doherty, to look at it. The changes are good ones. We think there's more accountability in the program for teachers, for mentors. So there's a structured approach. There's also a suggested outline for orientations. And I think it's an effective program now, but I think it will be really important and really effective, especially since we have so many new teachers in the district with the retirements and so on. Again, the integration of technology and curriculum. This is really taken over, I'd say. Google is definitely here. In fact, there was an article, front page of the New York Times just recently about Google in the schools. And, you know, there are some pros and cons to Google. But what we found is that teachers really like the Google Classroom, the forms. Our human resource program has literally been transformed with Google Forms. The teachers and students working in the Google frameworks. And, you know, even our email is Google, which has its, we're finding that there are some flaws there because we have to be very careful with chains of emails that seem to appear. And we have to really be conscious of that. I'm hoping that we can make sure the teachers realize how we have to really be monitoring the email that we forward. But it's meaningful because the kids really do find it, just for them, it's very natural. And the Google platform really works. So it's here, and we're part of the, you know, the modern, the current environment for technology. And we had said at the mid-year, we said we'd move to Gmail after break, and we did, and we're fully on board with that from our other program. Like we talked about the data, I'm going to move ahead. The schedule, we have done work on scheduling at the high school, and we're looking at implementing a new schedule this year that has a modified block, which means that some of the days there'll be longer periods. We still kept the 9-period day, which made it a very difficult schedule to develop. Ms. Intrieri and a team of teachers worked on it, and the students are being scheduled now based on their class selection. So this is something that is a work in progress. And K-8, there's also been work on the schedule being more responsive. At the elementary school, the I-Block program started last year, and now in the middle school, with the new schedule, they're also trying to their schedule, while it's the same in some ways, in most ways, they're also looking at, for example, they added a lab. We have a teacher now who'll do an English, writing lab with their English class. So they're trying to develop some adaptations to promote learning. You know, how do you best promote learning? For example, they noticed that in 7th and 8th grade, the students weren't getting as much reading and English time. This new schedule will allow that. It's similar to the program that was developed at the high school earlier. I'm skipping some things. Growth mindset is something that we're still working on, but it's not something that we've left behind. It's part of our vernacular, part of the way we talk about learning. And that has to do with the higher achievement standards that we're looking at for all of our students, higher expectations and helping them persevere. The later start is still something that we are working on, and certainly it's something that we feel should be implemented. We can't do it for next year, but we have all of our energies focused on how we can get it to happen at least one period later the following year. And as I mentioned at the last meeting, that will mean that we have to plug in for the community the schedules for the buses and the athletics and so on, and solve some of the problems that we saw could be issues that people were concerned about. If I skipped something that you wanted to, that anyone here wanted to focus on, let me know. You have it in front of you. I'm trying to move it along. The next area for discussion will be the fiscal area, and Jill? Yep.
Good evening. Just to go over some of the fiscal goals we had this year. And as everybody knows, the big fiscal goal was passing the school district budget, which we did. So the main goal I had this year was to collaborate with the administrators and try to set fiscal goals, as well as understanding what the educational goals were, to come up with a sustainable budget for those two areas. And we did that. We developed a plan based on the initiatives, and we were able to combine those two things and get a school district budget together and get it passed. We did some, I did some multi-year financial planning, which I presented, and gave a forecast about how the importance of maintaining a fiscal balance between our debt service and capital planning was important, because we have some of our debt service dropping off of our schedule coming in the next few years. I know Mr. Bellino and I, or Director of Operations, will work on, the capital planning in that area, and we, began to speak about that. We had the energy performance contract, again, bringing that up from a fiscal standpoint. The referendum was passed with the budget, and is going to include the incentive aid that we were hoping to achieve by having it as a referendum. So 10% in building aid, again, coming back to the district over the life of the project. Then the next fiscal goal, sorry, I think I passed it. Did that one?
Bottom of page 16.
Oh, okay. Again, the early start time. So, it was determined that more research is needed, finding a better strategy and exploring what transportation schedules can make it fiscally feasible for our taxpayers, while keeping scientific research in mind, to show that the adolescents need more sleep in the mornings, the high school students, particularly, to have the most effective outcomes. Keeping lines of communication open when we share planning projects and such with the town, that we make sure that we communicate with each other, and that again is ongoing. Again, the energy performance contract passed, and again, new capital ideas, that's stuff we can work on with the town. So those things are taking place or will be taking place. So we had a timely budget. I'm going to just pass through some of this. The big thing that challenged us this year was the budget newsletter, as everybody knows. So I think it's important that we talk about this for a few minutes. We were challenged again this year with the budget newsletter, getting it delivered on time within 6 days of the budget. Despite completing it in plenty of time and using our first-class postage method of delivering it to everyone, our newsletter failed to be delivered on time by the Postal Service. We met our goals by presenting the budget and visiting the senior center, by attending town hall meetings, CAC meetings, scheduled meetings with the buildings, video recordings with reporter Eric Gross, and many budget discussions at board meetings. But again, the newsletter, which is, we were receiving reports as late as May 26th, that people were receiving them in their homes. And, although we've met our obligation with all of these other places and people that we met with prior to having the budget vote, we still feel it's a serious matter, because of the moral obligation that we have to, let people make that informed decision about voting on the budget. Okay, so you want to read the
What
line?
I'd like to do, we have a wonderful business office staff that worked very, very hard on the newsletter. It's such a responsibility to make sure all the information is there, and that the notice that's required is received. And we were so disheartened when, mailing it May 8th, it never arrived by the budget. And this was first-class mail. This was a decision to spend the money for first-class mail, because we had, in the past 3 years, problems with the bulk mail. where we went to the White Plains office and found the mail, had to go through the whole post office and to find the newsletter in a back room. So this led us to write a letter, finally. Well, first we went to, we had our business office, and actually Jeannie and Jill and Maureen Peterson calling the post office through the channels, the regional post office. The response was, again, very disappointing. I met with the sheriff, Sheriff Smith, to lodge a complaint there for an investigation, which is ongoing. So this is happening. But because we're not getting results, we felt we needed to write to a number of people regarding this matter, including the Attorney General of New York, Sean Maloney, our representative. We have written to Senator Serino and a number of others who we feel we want to inform about this situation. We're talking about 3,300 pieces of mail. That's many, many trays of mail. And where they are, we hear now that some people are getting the newsletters. So something happened here, and we would like to find out what it is. So here's the letter we wrote. It will be posted on our website so that the public understands that we did our best to make this happen the way it needed to. Our responsibility as a district is to mail. We mailed. But our moral responsibility is what we are, what we're feeling right now. So this is one to Miss Megan Brennan, who is the Postmaster General of the United States, and this is the one we wrote to D.C. Dear Miss Brennan, I want to bring to your attention an incident that the Putnam Valley Central School District is currently having investigated related to a May 8, 2017 mailing of 3,142 pieces of first-class mail was brought to the Putnam Valley, New York Post Office. This mailing included our annual budget notice and newsletter informing residents of the upcoming school budget and energy performance contract proposition, as well as the election of a member of the Board of Education. The vote was held on May 16, 2017. Included in this newsletter is the information that we are mandated by the state of New York to provide to the community. On May 17, 2017, it came to the attention of this office that no resident had received the first-class letter, which was a full week after the mailing of this correspondence. And I'm very grateful to Ms. Bellino for helping with the drafting. She really got all of the information and drafted this for the district as the district clerk, and it was a powerful letter. We are aware that the Putnam Valley Post Office does not sort the mail, and that all the mail that is received at that location goes to the White Plains, New York Distribution Center for sorting and is then sent back to the Putnam Valley Post Office to be distributed. The postman of the Putnam Valley location, George Stockinger, confirmed that they did receive the trays of letters on Monday, May 8th at 3:30 p.m., and that it would have been placed on the truck going to White Plains that afternoon and should have been returned to Putnam Valley for delivery the next day, Tuesday or Wednesday, May 10th at the latest. They confirmed that the mail was not in Putnam Valley and presumed to have gone on the truck. It was very difficult for us to reach someone at the White Plains Distribution Center to confirm receipt. We eventually were able to personally contact Sindhu Roy, Operations Industrial Engineer, Westchester P&DC at the plant, and our managing manager, Nancy Wasco, Acting Manager, In-Plant Support, Westchester Processing and Distribution Center via email. A complaint was filed with the U.S. Postal Inspection Service on May 15, 2017. The case number, and we have the case number listed, on May 22nd, the postmaster in Putnam Valley, Mimi Frattura, contacted our office and indicated she had one more day to close the case. We clearly stated that the case could not be closed or listed as resolved, as we still had no information. On May 24th, we placed a follow-up call and were surprised to learn that case number and another number was listed as resolved. We opened yet another case with another number. We requested that the case be escalated immediately and were told that there was no way to override the system and initiate the escalation. On May 23rd, we scanned a copy of the envelope showing the barcodes to Sindhu Roy. On May 26th, we scanned a copy of the envelope showing the barcodes to Maria Allen in Consumer Affairs. As of this date, we have received no conclusive evidence back from anyone. An official complaint was also filed with the Putnam County Sheriff's Department on May 18, 2017, and they have begun an investigation. I'm also including some information as to why the district determined that it needed to do a first-class mailing this year. And that is a major decision, because that's costly to do a first-class mailing. In 2014, the budget newsletters were to be mailed via bulk mailing. In the days leading to the vote, it was noted that the newsletters had not been delivered and could not be found by the post office. The district initiated a reprint of the newsletters and were brought by a printing vendor to White Plains for a second time. The second mailing was received, but the first mailing was never received and never found. In 2015, mail was delivered to White Plains and back to Putnam Valley without incident. In 2016, the mailing was once again done as a bulk mailing. It was noted again it was taking an inordinate amount of time to be delivered. A request was made to look for the mailing, received notification. It was found in an equipment room in White Plains and was then sent out by the post office and was received just prior to the vote. A complaint was filed with the White Plains Post Office, but there was never a final conclusion reported to this office as to what happened. In addition, we attempted a simple postcard mailing in the fall of 2016 to encourage use of our online electronic newsletter. Again, not all of the postcards were received by the community. It should be noted that first-class mail means that every resident's name is on that envelope. It's not like the bulk mailing to the resident. So first-class mail is a promise. It's sort of the best guarantee we had since the Pony Express that it would get there.
Rain, sleet, or shine.
Due to these previous issues, the district decided to do a first-class mailing, as I mentioned, for the school vote to every current occupant of each resident in the school district. After the May 16 vote occurred, we received information on May 19th from one resident that they received the letter in their mailbox that day. We are now receiving reports as late as May 25th that the letters are arriving in more mailboxes, although many residents have still not received the newsletter. Along with the receipt of our correspondence, there have been many calls to our office from residents with accusations that the district sent out the information after the vote on purpose. We bring their attention to the meter stamp on the envelope showing the date of May 8th. I am reaching out to you to ensure that your office is aware of the incident and the seriousness of this mailing not being delivered to our community residents in a timely manner. While our attorney has informed us that we met our responsibilities to the public when we delivered the letters to the post office, we feel we have a moral obligation to ensure that every voter has an opportunity to receive information prior to voting to make an informed decision. Not to mention the mailing costs in excess of $5,000, for which we are submitting a request for refund from the United States Postal Service. We appreciate your assistance in expediting the investigation so that we can report back to our residents that those who are culpable for this incident are dealt with to the fullest extent possible. And there is a copy that we sent of what the envelope looks like, so the barcodes are there. So, perhaps for some, this will not rise to the level of something that needs to have the full force of this type of investigation. I feel strongly in the other way. I feel that this is part of the process that we expect as citizens of this country to have the mail delivered. And we're going to do everything we can to find out why this didn't happen, because now we are concerned about anything that we send out.
And I think the message, the reason we've spent a couple of minutes on this is we have the most conscientious business and fiscal staff, I think, anywhere in the country. And to think that we would deliberately send something after the fact, actually, as you can see, hurts people here. So we wanted to say that publicly. If you have any questions, certainly you can call. But a tremendous amount of time has been spent on this because we absolutely want to do our due diligence in the proper way all the time.
And we will post the letter as well on the website.
Can I just ask a couple of questions regarding that? Because it has happened before, those times that Dr. Wills has cited.
Right.
It has happened not just once. This is not just this year. It has happened a few times at least before.
Yes.
Okay.
And just these 2 years preceding this one. I mean, it's not like it happened and then it didn't happen.
Right.
So.
And it appears to me from the various people that have been contacted that we have not really gotten any information back. Is that correct?
Not any information that is meaningful.
Right.
You know, more
So
or less
this
a runaround.
falls into the category, excuse me, of nobody's to blame. Nobody seems to know what happened, and nobody's to blame. Alternatively, I would have to say that everybody is to blame there in this sort of, we're going to investigate it. All the investigators who don't seem to be able to come up with anything, I can't be as nice about this as some other people. They're all to blame if they're all saying, geez, we can't figure out what happened here. You know, I wouldn't accept that from people in many, many situations, and I agree that we shouldn't accept it here. Now, let me ask you, has anybody from the post office, let's say the Putnam Valley Post Office and the White Plains Post Office, when the letters started showing up, I know I got mine 18 days after it was mailed, when they started showing up, did anybody in the post office call you or anybody
Nobody
else?
contacted us.
Yeah. So in other words, nobody contacted you. Do you get the idea here that nobody has really brought an intensity to this that we have brought to this?
Correct.
The letters start showing up. Well, golly, that's the ones they've all been looking for, if they even knew.
Correct.
So I don't view this as any of these organizations that were cited, who this has been reported to as a problem. From everywhere, from the post offices to the sheriff's departments to the attorney general, to any of those, I don't see anything happening except them saying, geez, we can't figure this out. And nobody is going out of the way to say, hey, we found a letter. We got another few coming. Hey, we got another stack here. I don't see them contacting you. So I think it's unexcusable. So I think we should definitely, I don't know what the opportunity will come to, but in the future, we have to look upon all of those organizations with a wary eye if they're not really going to do what we expect them to do.
Correct. There's
Sorry,
no
this gets me
accountability.
really angry.
No accountability on their part, as far as I'm concerned. And, you know, to just mark it or check it off as a service failure doesn't do what we need it to do.
Thank you.
So most of my other goals that I have here are, let's see, the other one we have is a lot of cross-training that went on with department members, and we're continuing to do that. And we are also, you know, continuing to get together as groups in the business office, but also the other offices within the district to ensure that we are all in communications about all fiscal matters that take place throughout the district. So those are my goals. I know Human Resources is next. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm going to try and be quick here. So in HR, it really is all about process and about enhancing our faculty and staff in order to make the lives of our students and families the best we can make it. So increasing diversity, we've really tried to reach out to different organizations and different newspapers and different advertising agencies throughout the past 2 years. This year we joined the Action Network to really look at diversing the backgrounds of our teachers and our staff in order to better reflect our student population. So we have participated in different job fairs and are recruiting some really great, wonderful teachers who are here tonight. So to go on to the next one, to further redefine our hiring and exiting procedures. And that really is, we're using Google a lot. This summer, we're going to create a Google website just for HR. So that's to come, and we're excited about launching that this summer. Really, it'll be kind of a one-stop shop. Dan has been so helpful. Dana Lopez is truly a leader in HR, and using Google to really create process, formatting forms, making sure that when somebody leaves our district that we go from, being notified to notifying all of the players involved so that everybody is on the same page. The same with hiring. There's lots of little details that go into hiring and making sure that everybody is notified at each step of the process. So that has worked. Dana created a lot of forms and had them routed, and that is working really well so far. The next one is also another thing that I really want to, during the hiring process and through the HR department, there are often times when you are approving as board members lots of different little things throughout the year, whether that's a monitor for this or extra speech sessions or extra point twos. So we're trying to create, we are creating right now, a system in which we can really organize that for you so that you know and you have a broad picture by the end of each school year or even mid-year, all of those extra things that are, that we're asking from you. FMLA is the next goal, and our procedures, we implemented procedures this year. They seem to be working. It's really an individual case, and each case is different, so it needs to be handled differently for each employee. And we are training, monitoring, and recruiting substitute teachers. It really has become, over the past number of years, a major issue for lots of districts. And we are certainly in that. It is a challenge because of all of the testing that we are required to do, all of the professional development that we have. It is often a challenge to find people to cover those positions. So what we are, and not only to cover those positions, but to cover them well and not to lose instructional time during that time. So this summer, there'll be the first round of kind of mandated training that we're expecting our substitutes to participate in. You created a rate for that the last time, and so this summer we'll have that first group of people that can come and participate in training, and that will look like, what does an IEP look like? How do you read an IEP? Where do you locate the safety devices, lesson plans, how to implement lesson plans, all those basic duties of a substitute. So that will start this summer, and we'll have another one in January. And then providing more regular feedback to non-instructional staff. That really is about OTs, PTs, also teaching assistants. We created the teaching assistant line this year. We now have an evaluation tool that we've agreed upon, and that is that we will begin using next school year. So that is in place and working well. Any questions? No.
Good evening. Tonight I'll talk about our goals in operations, technology, and transportation. Our first goal was to explore a plan for the later start time at the high school as part of an effort to ensure a positive and productive learning environment. I think we all understand where we've been with this at this point. The year-end update is that all that work has been completed. Draft bus runs have been completed for a 2018 pilot program on this. I would tell you that on the transportation runs, they're based on present population. Obviously, there'll be some tweaks based on next year where the enrollments would be, but I don't see any fiscal impact other than what we've already discussed. So. The second was to continue to develop an energy performance contract with the goal of project commencement in spring of 2017, assuming, again, state ed approvals. That is now completed again. The estimated, just to remind everybody, the estimated energy savings from the EPC will be $384,000 yearly over the course of the contract. In addition to the savings, we're also getting infrastructure improvements throughout the buildings, mostly at the elementary school, and they'll be done at no additional cost to the taxpayer. The plan was sent to SED in March. We're hearing it's roughly a 6-month turnaround at this point. I've actually, as of yesterday, heard it might be a little bit longer than that. I believe we can, through some help from our architectural firm, get that, put a little noise onto that to maybe get a little squeaky wheel work going there. So, but we're on target. We're on plan for a spring, which would now be, it's a spring 2018 installation. We will be starting with that point, if it was approved, working on second shift after after school is over, for the most part, with changing out all the lighting. The heavier stuff, like the solar panels and the geothermal, would be started over the summer work. So. Another goal was to implement the Google Education Platform in all buildings. You've heard again from a number of people here as to how well that's taken off. I want to spend a moment and just let everybody know we brought in an outside consultant from BOCES who was excellent working with the teaching staff, with all members of the buildings, anybody that needed it. But we also brought in, we were smart enough to hire someone that really understood this and works well with every piece of all 3 buildings, and it's the gentleman behind the camera, Danny Mahoney. He has been a godsend. He's worked individually with people. He's pushed into classrooms. He is such a pleasure to work with. He's done tremendous work. Ms. Doherty talked about the HR functions, how much they've changed. We just implemented with new hire processes. Normally what happens is when a new hire is brought in, a number of different things have to go to a number of different people. It's now all consolidated in one form. The form goes out, you get the piece you need, you implement what you need, and we can track it that way. And again, Danny was the creator of that. So,
can we give him an on?
I would like, yeah. He really deserves it.
There really is somebody behind the camera.
Yes, there is. So again, thanks to Dan, our implementation of Gmail, our implementation of the Google platform has been a rousing success. So again, thank you, Danny. Let me say it personally. So, okay, our Smart Bond project, which we've been hearing about for 2 years plus now. Just to give everybody an update, what happened? We were moving along. We had everything done. We had actually had assurances from the representative that we had to send it to that everything looked great. At the last minute, we had gotten into the expenditure, what's called the expenditure review piece of it, where they're actually looking at what you're surmising to buy. We then got it turned back to us, which was a complete surprise. They wanted further information, more definition to what was going on. We turned that around within 48 hours back to them. We had to review it again. We're now at the last step for the state. We're just waiting for them to release the funds at this point. We're in that last group there. Okay. I'll give you a mid-year update. We implemented a pilot program in 2 classrooms with Chromebooks. My goal was to, as everybody knows, we send our MacBooks home with students from grade 7 and 8 right now, and all the way up to grade 12. But I was looking for something that students could take home that were in the lower grades, 5 and 6 we were looking at. So we implemented a 2-classroom approach with Chromebooks, which, as everybody knows, are really just divided. They can't do all the things that a MacBook can do. But for the younger students, we felt that it could handle everything that needed to be done. And again, with the goal of getting a device in their hands at home. It seems to be, from my survey of the teachers and the staff over there, and the students, it's been, again, another rousing success. When Dr. Luft comes in July, him and I have already had some conversations, but we'll look further to see which way we're going to go with this at this point. Do we do we keep continuing forward with this, or, do we need a tweak here, tweak there? Do we break it in 1 year and then roll it down again the next year after that? But this will become Dr. Luff's, one of his goals at that point for next year. Yeah. My goal 5 was to continue to monitor and improve the security systems in the district. That is, honestly, I'm going to be honest, that is going to be an ongoing, all the time. You look at what you've got. We spent a lot of money. We put a lot of things in place, and you find you look and you say, you know what, I can do better by doing this here. As everybody knows, Corinne Pitt was promoted to investigator. We have a new SRO. I think he was here. He might have stepped out, but SRO Blessing he's been a blessing. He stepped in perfectly in Corinne's place. I've worked closely with him, especially on the cameras, as to things we can do to improve security. But that will be an ongoing goal as the district moves forward. The biggest thing I've held off on was purchasing new cameras. We still have a number of analog as opposed to digital cameras. But again, once we have our expenditure review released, that's part of the monies to be spent there. I didn't want to take it out of a regular budget when the state was offering the money for that. So, but those will be, again, once it's released, we'll be adding additional cameras around the district. So again, we also added another additional initiative that we did was called the Rapid Responder Program. This is offered out of a company that was based in Washington, Seattle, Washington area. What it did is it ties together, and we've had our meetings with them already. We implement the program. It ties the schools, the sheriff, the state troopers, and the fire departments all together through a web-based program. It was, I will tell you, about 2 months worth of data input that was needed, from floor plans to policies to procedures, but it was well worth it. We had our meeting to go over. We met with the groups all, I think it was back in March, I believe, late February, early March. We've implemented them all at this point. They all have access to it right now. We've actually had an administrator that actually tested the system for us through the web-based application. Thank you, Dr. Wills. But really, it's something that we're going to be using.
I thought I was just doing a test.
She thought she was sending out a test and sent out a live one.
That's great.
But that's part of the learning. It's part of the learning curve. And it was, it was reacted to properly. So that was the important part. So again, that's another initiative we've put in place, and will be an ongoing piece. That will help us in I don't know if you're aware, but through the state, the state requires us to send to the state troopers, the sheriff department, number of agencies, what our policies are for safety. Any updates in that, any changes in staff, all have to go through it. So that's part and parcel of what I do. And then you update it. It shows. The nice thing is it shows that it's been reviewed or revised. You send it up right through there, and it keeps us in compliance, which is I think is very important. Goal number 6 was to continue the green initiative in the district. Again, the biggest part of that will be our energy performance contract. The most, obviously dollar-wise at least. We're working with a group, as Fran mentioned, SELF. We met with them the other day to put this all together, a curriculum that will tie in everything we're doing with the energy performance contract, composting, things like that, raised beds that we've worked on. And I think that's in our initial phases right now, and I believe Fran has them tied in to come in at the superintendent's conference day at the end of June. Again, so the year-end update on this is it's where we are with the ideas there are all completed. We've got composting at the middle school, high school. We've installed, and we're actually putting a fence up to keep our wonderful wildlife out. 6 raised bed gardens at the elementary school. We've developed a raised bed garden here at the high school with the environmental club and in association with the Cornell Cooperative Extension. And those are ongoing, but everything's in place. Now it's up where the kids will be maintaining those and watering them, and hopefully, I know the goal here at the high school is to grow vegetables, and at that point to either use them inside here or to offer them up to the food pantry at that point. So I think the end result will be a nice surprise for everyone. So, yeah. Goal number 7 was to review the 5-year plan and its relationship to the capital reserve fund. The year-end update on this, I'm happy to tell you we're ahead of schedule on the items that are on there, that were broken up year by year. Many of the projects that were slated to be done through 2018, or as previously documented, are already complete. Many of the remaining items on the 5-year plan have been tied back into the infrastructure upgrades with the EPC, so that'll be ongoing. They'll work hand in hand with that. Any additional ones that are there that fall outside that scope is where I'll be using the budget money to make the improvements as needed. I would say that I would recommend to the board that we start discussions on future projects that align with our capital reserve fund. Really, you need to start planning now for things for 2020, 2021, because as you see, getting to a state ed approval takes a long time. And I know Ms. Figuerella talked about, where we're falling off, where we'll be falling off at, and then I just think it would be prudent for the board to look at things like expansion, areas that we know we have needs of. I would tell you right out, science labs, auxiliary gym, things like that. I'm sure the board's got a number of other ideas also, but I think it's time to get together and start looking at, what it would take, what do we got to do, and start planning for the future.
Maybe
Okay.
create a board facilities committee to review that. So that we can look at our reorganization meeting. Okay, great.
All right, any questions?
I have a question that was referred to in the first part of the project, and you brought it up here again. Upgrade to Power School 10, and then the Power School app. The question I have with that, and you may or may not be able to answer this, is the plan for that to be up and running in time for the new school year, or at least by back to school night, because that gives us a couple extra weeks with teachers in the building. Because while I now appreciate the splash pages, it took us till April or May for that to become live, so there was really no facility at all for parents to get access online unless teachers had personal websites that they still maintained to see what kids had for homework assignments. And now most of them, because of Google Classroom, are using the calendar so you can get to it. I have no idea what Power School 10 and the app are going to do, but I would hate for another tool to be added to our toolbox that takes months and months of implementation after the beginning of another school year when it becomes irrelevant. And while I appreciate the splash pages now, it took way too long for that to happen. I just don't want something like that to happen again. So again, that's probably not you, but you're as technology, the piece of it.
Yep.
Implementation.
Well, Joe, I'll be honest, I can't give you the answers but I can get you that answer. So what I'll do is I'll talk with Michael Lee tomorrow. I'll talk with HR as to the functions that they're dealing with it, and give you a timeline for implementation, and make sure that's adhered to. I'm easy with that piece of it. So again, with the splash pages, as you know, you brought it up at one of our district technology meetings. The biggest, I guess, the slowdown on that was trying to get people together to explain to them what we were trying to do and how to accomplish that goal. And again, Danny and Matt Brady was another gentleman that works for us now. Both, and again, the nice thing I'd like to say about that, both of them Putnam Valley product that have really been helpful in implementing this. And again, another person I want to give a great shout out to is Laura Sherwood. She's our tech person in the middle school. She's reached out to high school, middle school. She really spearheaded this piece of it to get in there and train them as to, Joe, everybody had their own way of doing things. We were trying to, the goal was to standardize everything so it wasn't confusing to parents or anyone that wanted access. We accomplished that after much discussion, internal discussion, what were we looking for, turned it around, and then actually pushed into each building. And again, on the teacher side, sometimes it's hard to get everybody together. We're trying to do grade levels, and we ended up, at one point, actually going individual one by one. But we were great about, Laura did a great job of getting it for the majority in a large shot, and then it really was the odds and ends that we had to pick up at the end there. So, but again, I foresee the Power School being a smoother process, because to be honest, it's less people that'll be touching it at that point. So, okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions? I'd like to turn it over to Mr. Burrow.
Perfect. It's the last goal, everyone.
Last goal.
You're batting,
these should
batting
be in-
cleanup, Mr. Burrows.
They should be in
Finish
alphabetical
strong,
order.
Brian, finish strong.
And before you, Maureen, for my attention span, I think I'd like to make a note publicly that when we do the goals, we divide them so that we possibly do operations, fiscal, and human resource on one day, and the educational athletics on another, just because everything that has been said is very important, and I want it to be given that kind of attention and energy. So for our mid-year and next year, you're the one that remembers that. We'll all forget. Okay, Brian.
So hello,
Yeah, there's a
everyone.
goal.
That is a goal. I'll put it down.
Goal.
I saw the sun today. I don't know if anybody else did. For a while there, I thought we were living in Seattle during the spring season. It was a little rough. I do have some highlights that I'll go through at the very end after we go through some of these goals here. So I had to print it out. My eyes are getting a little old. I can't see all of that up there, so I apologize if I'm looking down at some point. So for the first goal here, we were talking about the academic eligibility process and the new process that we implemented here at the high school. This is primarily taken on by Chris O'Connor, the assistant principal at the high school, and myself. So basically a continuation of the midpoint where we were meeting with each individual that was appropriate to us, whether it was a high school person not in athletics Chris would deal with, and then any of the athletes would be assigned to myself. We met weekly. We discovered ways that we could support the students or motivate them. We just had discussions, what is this? Is this you not understanding this, or is this something that you need to step up and do your homework or something of that nature? And we had some really good, honest conversations with the students, which was really nice. It was nice to get that one-on-one interaction. We were able to advocate for different accommodations. For example, one student that has tests read said, it's difficult when another person is getting tests read and we're not at the same pace. So we were able to take that and we advocated for her to get individual tests read. It happened. It's working great. Just little things like that you might miss if we had our old system. So those are big wins. The last point I'd like to make is that mid-quarter 4, there were no student athletes on the list. So that's an accomplishment.
That's great.
Now, is it sustainable? Will it roll over that way? We won't know. We'll revisit it. We'll keep an eye on it for sure. But it seems like it is working, and that they see that we do care. We want them to be successful, and really it's a win-win on both sides.
Great.
Okay, family ID implementation. Where are we up there? Am I close? There we go. I really can't see it. It's terrible. It's on the screen. There we go. Family ID, we had 2 full seasons with it. We're working to streamline and add some things to Family ID as we go. Some other districts have shown or talked about how they have other things on there that they want parents and students to be able to see or have to at least navigate around in order to make their way through. So certain agreements about behavior and things of that nature that we would like on there so that if it does come up, that they actually had it present. I think that's, we also talked about that in the PEAC committee, and they agreed that that would be a good idea to start to add those in. So we're reviewing those, and hopefully they'll be implemented by the fall. This fall season will be the first time that Family ID has been used in the fall. We rolled it out in the winter, so it'll be interesting to see. It's been working very well. When I first came in, I did, after that first spring season where there was a line out the nurse's office, we said there has to be a change, and I implemented the week cutoff, And then with the family ID, it really makes a hard line we cut off. You can't get in. So parents and students are really stepping up. So it's working well.
She's leaving. She's my great teacher. I can't tell you what to do.
Okay. Let's see. The collaboration with the new secretary is working out wonderfully. We've had almost a full year together. So we are always looking new ways to improve and streamline the efficiency of the department. It is so incredibly busy, and we're both very motivated to make it as efficient as possible so that it lightens the load. So we continually talk back and forth, can we make this better? Can we improve this? Even if it's things that seem to be running very, very well. So that's been something that's been very nice, and I shouldn't say refreshing, but it's a successful transition for both Kathy and I. So one of our goals was to review the coaching evaluation, and we talked about doing different surveys and coaching self-assessments. I gathered quite a few surveys. Where are we? There we go. Stop. And we put together what we thought would be appropriate for a rollout pilot. So there's all the varsity spring student athletes have the survey. You may or may not have seen that, but they do have it. And we are getting some responses. What we need to look at over the summer after we get quite a few of them in is, did we get out of it what we wanted? Was it detailed enough? The distribution is a challenge to make sure that we're actually getting the actual athletes on the actual teams responding, and that's why we wouldn't want to just put out a connected to the masses. We need to try to make sure that we're extracting the proper information and having it line up where we want it to. So that's kind of an ongoing challenge that we're going to have to watch and make sure it works out. Okay. Collaborating with the new principal for the Tiger and the kickoff ceremony. So we continue to work on overall school spirit. We brought the new Tiger out whenever possible, when it wasn't either raining or 95 degrees. We had new send-offs to the state competition, and they were incredible. If you didn't have goosebumps during those, I don't know, you were probably sleeping. We celebrated the teams that won sectionals or individuals with breakfasts of champions, various call-outs prior to events, and different picture opportunities. We added the first annual NCAA commitment celebration in the main hallway here, and we have a bulletin board downstairs where we are picturing current NCAA athletes.
That's great.
Working with neighboring districts, we continue to work with different districts on different mergers and things like that, where it seems like a lot of times lately they've been other district needs rather than Putnam Valley. So we're happy to be able to accommodate and welcome them when we have the opportunity. Usually it's only a few students that need to come in, and they don't have either wrestling or something like that. So Haldane and Garrison, both for the wrestling merger, was added this year, and then Haldane and Head HUD for the ice hockey merger. So I think you may see that trending a little bit up as far as when enrollment in a lot of districts starts to decline. Something to watch. Okay. Oh, actually, just to add to that, we've been following, one of the things that came out of the PEAC committee was trying to follow districts, schools that are continuing beyond sectional area from our section. So, helping promote and just create that community bond back and forth, that we're all in this together. You came out of our section, and so on and so forth. So we've been trying to promote them through the Twitter account, which links to the app, and so on and so forth. And I've actually seen quite a few other districts doing it in reciprocation too. It's very nice. Okay, working with facilities. We had gotten a quote back for the flooring for the weight room that is just below us here. It was higher than anticipated. My eyes almost fell out of their eye sockets, to be honest with you. I was very surprised. I was talking over with the director of facilities, how could we make this a little bit more in-house? He had a few ideas. It's something that we're continuing to look into. It is needed. It's time for that floor to be redone, but we want to make sure we do it in the most responsible way and once, do it right. So that's an ongoing project. There are signs and banners that we are finalizing for around the campus. One of the reasons that this is not complete at this time is in ordering these signs, you need to have X number of signs in order to complete sheets with different vendors and things like this. I learned that was something new. So we've put together quite a few different signs that I've noticed over the last 2 years that would be nice to have. Not that you're going to run into a sign everywhere you turn, but things that are either already there that will update or that have been necessary that we've seen, such as no soft toss, which is when they bat into the cages and bend them all out of shape, removing cleats before entering the building, using the recycling and trash receptacles, sportsmanship banners, no pets as per New York State Health Code, and home and visitor signs for the stands so people know where to go. Just things that would be, subtle but helpful, and they'll be posted around. In maintenance, we brought 25 more tons of clay to the fields. Last year we brought 130. Hadn't been ordered in quite a long time, so we had to get it up to speed. So now we have a pile of 25 tons out there that we'll use to maintain both campuses. All of our softball and baseball fields will be able to upkeep these and hopefully maintain them rather than get to the point where we need to do some serious damage control. We've had quite a few positive emails coming in about both of the fields here. We got a new mat drag that really tightens up the clay, which that's a good thing if you're not sure what that is. People are very, very happy. The coaches seemed very, very happy about that. We had dugout projects for both softball and baseball, fence toppers for safety, especially on the baseball field. You can't see that fence if you're running out for a fly ball. Batting cage backers for both softball and baseball. And we continue to evaluate how to streamline impact testing a little bit better. We're trying to, along with Megan, the trainer, we're trying to shift when the implementation for the fall happens. So this is kind of the result of 3 or so years ago when I had to start it in August. We're still in that layover, and that's very, very difficult. So what we're going to try to do is we're getting them all ready for the fall now, but we're going to try to reset that for between the fall and winter months so that the kids are still in school, they're not chomping a bit, get out of here, or coming back, or vice versa. So we're going to work on that. And I think that's it for goals, but I got to tell you some highlights.
Okay.
This was considering the weather, this was an incredible spring for Putnam Valley. It really was incredible. We had both the girls and boys track team won the league. They're continuing in state qualifiers, and just as I was standing over there before, I was getting messages that Antonia Hoyos won the long jump today, so she'll be going to the state competition next weekend. It's excellent. We had girls and boys lacrosse both won the leagues, and the girls lacrosse team advanced to the Section 1 title game. Courtney Heinman was named the Conference 3 Coach of the Year for that team, which is incredible.
Also a PV graduate, might I add?
Absolutely. And let's see, Bronxville, which is the team that defeated us in the section, will be going against Millbrook in the regional final at Suffolk Middle School at 2 p.m. So they're still way up there. It would be nice if they won the state. Then we could say we lost to the state champ. And both our softball and baseball teams advanced to the sectional semifinals, which was very exciting. Both were in that last game, and they lost just by 1 run. It came down to, really an out, 1 play here or there, just exciting, good games that both the teams were able to walk off knowing they left everything out on the field, which is all we really want. You got to win or lose. Somebody's going to win or lose, but make sure you leave it all out there. So it was an incredible spring. It really was.
The heart your teams all showed, our teams all showed at those sectional games gave you
Incredible.
goosebumps to watch.
Yep.
They were
It's
incredible.
one of the most,
Very, very proud to watch.
yep, I'm very proud of that.
Mhm.
Yep. So, does anybody have any goals questions?
Not at this time.
Thank you.
No?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, so I'm asking for a rearrangement of the order. And first, I do have to open it up for public contribution on only listed agenda items, but we are going to put the superintendent's report until after new business and the consent agenda. So we're going to jump to new business number 1, Mr. Ferrara.
Does anyone want to come up? No. Okay.
Don't think so.
Sorry, let me make it bigger. Resolved on the recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools to appoint Teresa D'Angelo to a 4-year probationary term as grade 5 ELA social studies teacher commencing on September 1st, 2017 and terminating on August 31st, 2021 in the tenure area of elementary at the middle school on step 1MA, the PVFT salary schedule. Ms. D'Angelo holds initial certifications in childhood education, grades 1 through 6, and students with disabilities 1 through 6. In order to be eligible for appointment to tenure, said employee must receive at least 3 APPR ratings of effective or highly effective during the 4-year probationary term and may not receive an ineffective rating in the final year of probation.
Second.
Questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Yes, is Teresa here? Is Mr. Angelo here? No. Okay, well, I just want
Welcome.
to say that all of the teachers who are here this evening and who have been, who will be appointed tonight, have been through a very rigorous process for hiring, and each one of them has excelled in the classroom and in their interviews. So we're delighted to have the teachers we have. Before we go on any further, I just want to introduce someone who is here, who was appointed by this board a couple of meetings ago, who's been here this whole night because he couldn't come that night, and I just want to introduce him to you, Jake Ninan, who is here. He was appointed as a science teacher at the high school.
You have to do this whole handshake.
You have to do the handshake. Do it for Teresa. Jake has been at Bedford. He's had many years of experience.
Thank you.
As a science teacher with wonderful recommendations. Thank you for coming, Jake.
Okay. Number 2?
Yeah.
Tell us who's here when we get there. Okay, number 2, Mr. Smith. Next couple are going to be fun. They're all fun.
Resolved on recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools to appoint Paul Pearson to a 4-year probationary term as a LOTE teacher commencing on September 1st, 2017 and terminating on August 31st, 2021 in the tenure area of language other than English, that's LOTE, at the middle school and high school on Step 1 MA of the PVFT salary schedule. Mr. Pearson holds initial certification in Spanish 7 to 12. In order to be eligible for appointment to tenure, said employee must receive at least 3 APPR ratings of effective or highly effective during the 4-year probationary term and may not receive an ineffective rating in the final year of probation.
Second.
Questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Number 3, Mr. Spittle?
Okay. Resolved on recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools to appoint Catherine Schultz to a 4-year probationary term as a grade 7 through 12 English teacher commencing on September 1st, 2017 and terminating on August 31st, 2021 in the tenure area of English 7 through 12 at the high school on a Step 2A MA of the PVFT salary schedule. Ms. Schultz holds certification in 7 through 12 English. In order to be eligible for an appointment to tenure, said employee must receive at least 3 APPR ratings of effective or highly effective during the 4-year probationary term and may not receive an ineffective rating in the final year of probation.
Second.
Questions or comments?
I just would like to say that Catherine Schutz has come to the USA after being many years in Britain and teaching there, and has been working in Mamaroneck following her teaching experience in England, and she comes with a great deal of a very fine experience.
All in favor?
Aye.
Number 4.
Resolved on recommendation of the superintendent of schools to appoint Georgia Summer to a 4-year probationary term as a special ed 1 through 6 grade 5 teacher commencing on September 1st, 2017 and terminating on August 31st, 2021 in the tenure area of special education at the middle school on Step 1 Masters of the PVFT salary schedule. Ms. Summers holds initial certification in childhood education grades 1 through 6, special education 1 through 6. In order to be eligible for appointment to tenure, said employee must receive at least 3 APPR ratings of effective or highly effective during the 4-year probationary term and may not receive any ineffective ratings in the final year of probation.
Second.
Questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Also a PV graduate?
Georgia has, I would like to mention that Georgia has worked for us as an apprentice with the Manhattanville program. We talked a lot about the Manhattanville program and remember participated in that. And that was a few years ago. And Georgia was an apprentice for 2 years, both at a special act district, Blythedale, and then here for a year. And after she was here, she was thought highly of at the elementary school, and then has been hired as a middle school teacher in special education for next year. She's certified both in special education and regular education, and of course she's a Cornell graduate and a graduate of Putnam Valley. So congratulations.
And number 5.
Resolved on recommendation of the superintendent of schools to appoint Carenza Siena to a 4-year probationary term as an ELA teacher, commencing on September 1st, 2017, and terminating on August 31st, 2021, in the tenure area of English at the middle high school on Step 2 MA of the PVFT salary schedule. Mr. Siena holds ELA 5 through 9 initial certification, ELA 7 through 12 initial certification. In order to be eligible for appointment to tenure, said employee must receive at least 3 APPR ratings of effective or highly effective during the 4-year probationary term and may not receive an ineffective rating in the final year of probation.
Second.
And
questions or comments?
Just to comment that Ms. DeSiena has come from a very interesting and challenging job and in charter high school in New York City, where she also was working as the department head and designing an advanced placement curriculum, which was approved. So she has a great deal of in-depth experience in English, and we're very delighted that she'll be coming here either as a middle school teacher or a high school teacher. That will be determined by the principals.
All in favor?
Aye. Yes. And Ms. DeSiena also is a coach, a soccer coach at the varsity level, and so she's also running the student government there.
number 6.
Resolved on recommendation of the superintendent of schools to appoint Amy Sue Novak to a 1-year leave replacement as an English language arts teacher at the high school, effective September 1st, 2017 through June 30th, 2018, or sooner at the discretion of the Board of Education, on Step 1 MA of the PVFT salary schedule. Ms. Novak holds initial certification in English language arts 7 to 12.
Second.
Questions or comments?
And Ms. Novak has served in our district as a teacher aide, and then moved on to a teaching position in another district, and now is returning to serve here as an English teacher.
Questions and comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Moving on to number 7.
Resolved on recommendation of the superintendent of schools to accept the resignation of high school ELA teacher Kathleen Lombardo from the district effective June 30, 2017, as per document number 207/17, attached to the agenda and official minutes of this meeting.
Second.
Questions or comments? All in favor? Oh, questions or comments? Did you
No, I
have
just wanted to say that Ms. Lombardo was exceptional in her performance in her position as English teacher here, but is moving in her personal life, moving on to Albany area, and she reluctantly had to resign.
That would be a long commute.
A little bit. All in favor?
Aye.
With regret? Aye. Number 8.
Resolved on recommendation of superintendent of schools to accept the resignation for the purpose of retirement of Beverly McNamara, effective June 30th, 2017, as per document 211/17.
Second.
Questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
And number 9.
Resolved on recommendation of the superintendent of schools to amend the appointment of Erin Keene, approved at the May 18th, 2017 meeting of the Board of Education as follows. Whereas Erin Keene has been previously tenured as a teacher in a New York Public School District or BOCES, and whereas said teacher has presented proof of receipt of a Section 3012C and 3012D Education Law APPR rating in the final year of service in their previous service in such school district or BOCES. Now therefore be it resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools that the Board of Education hereby appoints Erin Keene to a 3-year probationary term as an elementary teacher commencing on September 1st, 2017 and terminating on August 31st, 2020 in the tenure area of elementary education at Putnam Valley Elementary School on Step 2MA 65,869 of the PVFT salary schedule. Ms. Keene holds certification in childhood education 1 through 6, students with disability 1 through 6, and literacy 1 through 6. In order to be eligible for appointment to tenure, said teacher must have at least 3 years of effective or highly effective APPR ratings pursuant to Section 3012C and or Section 3012D of the Education Law during the probationary term that may count the rating from previous employment as referenced above and may not receive an ineffective APPR rating in the final year of probation.
Second.
Questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Number 10.
Be it resolved that the Board of Education hereby authorizes the superintendent of schools to execute an amended supplemental memorandum of agreement between the district and the Putnam Valley Federation of Teachers dated May 22nd, 2017, as presented to the board at this meeting as document number 205/17. A copy of such supplemental memorandum of agreement shall be incorporated by reference within the minutes of this meeting.
Second.
Perhaps, Jill, would you like to explain the?
Sure.
This is the questions or comments part.
Right, so currently in the PVFT contract, there is a clause in there for buyout for family member, employees who have a family and want to go to a single coverage, but there is no clause in there for a single coverage buyout. So just a person who is single who just doesn't want to take the plan. So that's what this is about.
They have to prove that they have insurance.
Right, and currently with the Affordable Care Act rules, everyone has to prove that they have insurance before they can apply for that buyout.
And some of these are teachers who may be on their parents'
Right, well, because
insurance or
now
something like that.
the laws are covering you until you're 26, we are hiring a lot of new teachers. Some of them will fall into that category. We haven't had any up until now that are single and under that, under that age, where they would
Not
be
for
able
much
to...
longer, Georgia, not for much longer.
Yeah, where they would be able to remain on their parents' policies.
Another 6 months or so, or whatever it is. Okay, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
All in favor, part? Aye. Now, moving on to the consent agenda.
Resolved to approve items 2 through 11 as appears within the consent agenda section of this meeting.
Second,
Questions or comments?
we're approving 16 summer workers. We're approving summer hours for the people who are part-time workers. We're approving additions to the substitute tutor list. We're approving summer hours for the extended school year employee staff. This includes teachers, aides, substitutes, and support staff such as nurses. We're approving three non-resident faculty children to attend our district. No, wait, excuse me. We're approving for 3 faculty members who don't live in our district permission for their children to attend, and that's a total of 4 children in total. 3 of them are already attending our school, and that's for next year. We're approving summer hours for the high school guidance staff, approximately 15 6-hour days. We're approving a transfer of approximately $13,200 to the security fund from a different fund, and that is the consent agenda.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, now, can we go back to your
I'll make it very,
superintendent's report?
and it will be very quick, but I have,
The wonderful concert, right?
that's it. I just have to say that there are some real highlights of the year that occur at the end of the school year, and we've had a number of them. The concert last night at the high school, the band concert, was just the supreme moment, and modeling the way we appreciate our teachers, the way we appreciate our students, and honor them at the end of their career here as students. And the way it was put together by Mr. Odell, the way he talked about each student individually, the quality of the music, the quality of the performance, and what's really exciting is to see the teachers from the elementary and the middle school, those teachers performing in the band, just changes the whole event into something that's a real community event. And I think for parents who come and for anyone who is there, you get this transcendent feeling about what education can be and what it should be, and hearing where the children will be going in the future, their college plans, their career plans. And we have many students who are engineers, scientists, and some who are still dreaming about their future and thinking about it that way. But there is a sense of purpose and a real excitement that came out of that night, something that is inspiring. And we've had a number of those kinds of events in the last few weeks, which does happen at the end of the year, but it sort of reinforces what we're trying to do here. For example, the Journeys program, which was started here, we started it just a couple of years ago. If you remember, this was our attempt to do an internship program, and we have 17 students who completed this year. We have 26 lined up for next year, and it's a senior program. And to see some of the work that the students do as part of this program, their journals, their documentaries. We saw Mr. James Capozito today do his dance. He performed. He showed his documentary that he created of dancers whom he interviewed and who talked about why they were dancing and what their lives were about. And it was very deep, and it was exciting to see all of the students who were there to watch this as well. And it was done in the library, and the custodial staff and everyone helping out to make the library a very special dance spot. It was really, again, one of these highlights. The awards program that Ms. Centuri has introduced, where students in each grade level obtain awards. So there's a 9th grade award ceremony, 10th grade, 11th grade. And of course, students are recognized, they're appreciated by their peers who see what it means to have an accomplishment. And then also, this is something that they use in their college applications. It's something that marks them as someone who has achieved all the way through high school. So these are the kinds of things, the book awards that you get as a junior from various colleges. These are the kinds of things that demonstrate who we are as a school district. We saw the science research. We had over 100 people here. I don't know if I mentioned that at another board meeting yet or not. I can't remember now. I actually have some photos, but I'm not going to show them tonight. I'm going to wait until I do my superintendent's goals. But every time you're involved in one of these events where you see like a community of students and the community of parents and others who surround them, you realize that school has many homes for our students. And there have been a number of programs we've started here that have created these little communities, very positive communities for students within the school. And we were at the Maker Space event yesterday at the elementary school, where you have the club, the Makerspace Club, and parents are there to see the student, the student work. And again, this is all developed by teachers. It's just, this little book, which I'll pass around, start over there and then we can end here. But it was sold by one of the students in the Journeys program, Cassie Kutroff. She did her presentation today, and she did a wonderful presentation of art. She's an artist, and she looked for artists who were not necessarily recognized as artists, but who were creative. She called them the creatives, and she does portraits and then biographies of these artists, and it's really very, very well done. And again, we see what students can do when given the opportunity to cultivate a voice for themselves. So a lot of good work is going on here, and we're very proud of what the teachers are doing, what the students are doing, and where we're going as a district, I think. So
I'm going to mention one thing. Jen Zeffi, we appointed her at the last board meeting, and she couldn't make it, and she's here tonight, and I don't want to oversee.
We like
I don't want to forget her.
No.
So I want the board to meet her. So
great. Thank you. Thank you so much. Congratulations. I'm so glad you came.
We just comment, she must be a good special education teacher. She has patience.
So Jen, I had the privilege of being on the hiring committee, and she is just an incredibly talented teacher. She was here as an apprentice as well.
Yes, she was also
so we were able to watch her all year and really grow as a professional. So we are incredibly fortunate to have Georgia and Jen, really two talented young teachers.
So this apprentice program, I can't say enough about it. We're trying it again this year. They're hoping to foster some. We haven't heard yet, but hopefully they're going to send us some more, because it says a lot for Manhattanville.
Yeah, agreed.
For the program.
Great. Do we have any public comment from the audience?
Just a couple of things. We mentioned the chorus, the band concert. The chorus concert is next Wednesday at 7 o'clock in the PAC. If you go wander around the building, in that part, the art show is taking place, the students' art show. It's phenomenal.
Yes,
combination of mixture of art, photography, it is just phenomenal.
And there's an opening, right? June 7th, they're having their official opening, I think.
It's actually the closing.
The closing.
It's a closing ceremony. It started last night, and it's going through the 7th, and on the 7th is the closing. The course that
Did he say the
You
foundation?
said about the awards. The senior awards are going to be on the 14th at the PAC at night, not during the day like the other awards. We were notified that 4 of our students wrote poems, which are going to be on the Hudson Highland Land Trust trail. It's a poetry trail, and we have 4 students. Mandy Logden's poem, "The Happy Forest." Thomas, and I apologize, Skiaraba's poem, thank you.
Thank you.
"Home Sweet Home" is gonna be. Mia Marolius, a poem called "The River," and Jonah Kabashi's poem, "The Great Forest," was selected, and they're gonna be part of the trail. So that's it. When you hike that trail, you get to see poems from not only our students, but a whole bunch of them. And it's just it's a wonderful experience. So we heard that, the tech center. Everyone else mentioned the other things.
It was, tomorrow, I think, is the middle school tech, art, music event at the middle school, which is always great to try and dig and find art. At the same time, being entertained by people singing, playing instruments, and going through the technology piece. It's become quite a big,
It's awesome.
big,
It really is. It's a lot of fun.
big event.
The foundation event tomorrow night as well. Did he mention that? Okay. Yes, tomorrow night is the Education Foundation event at Villa Barone.
Yes.
That's Friday, June 2nd, and you can go on the internet and still register, right?
Mhm.
Or just attend.
It is a fun night. It's a casino night, and it is a lot of fun.
It'll be a great night.
I had, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say the Make a Difference Club continues to excel. Today, they received an award from Cablevision that's now known as Altus, and for being the charity champion, winning their charity champion contest. And they took the $1,000 prize and gave it to the Putnam Valley Food Pantry. So thank you, Mrs. Cephaloni, and students for doing that. Fantastic job, and they had a great time playing volleyball, celebrating that victory. And I have to mention also the Journeys program. I would highly recommend that to students and families moving through the system. I happen to see today's presentation. I've seen a few over the years, and it's so impressive that they really examine the journey of learning. They don't just show you the end product, but their actual end product examines their entire quest through the year to come to their final showing. And it's a great part of a real education is to follow the entire journey. So congratulations to those students and to their teachers as well.
I have 2 requests. One is to you, Dr. Wills, if we have an embarrassment of riches in this building for performing arts in the PAC and the infrastructure that goes behind all that's possible in the PAC. I would love for us to explore what we could do in the other buildings to enhance their experience, the middle school and the elementary school. Perhaps Susie might be able to work with those principals or with the directors in those areas and Mr. Bellino on things that, and I don't think it's going to be a lot, but I think there are things that can really make a difference to those programs from a technical standpoint, which, you know, there's a lot of cross-training that happens with high school students going over the middle school and the middle school and the elementary school, but having some more infrastructure support for those programs, I think would be a good thing. Again, it's great that we've got here in the PAC all our infrastructure, but I think we could do more for the rest of the district. And the second request I have is to anybody who's still watching, which I doubt there's that many, just something that keeps coming up over and over again. I want to remind people that Facebook really isn't a tool for real information sometimes. That information, if you have questions about a project that's happening at the district or an issue with anything that's happening in any of the buildings, I would suggest go to the source rather than post the question out to the world to get an answer with 800 different viewpoints that allows just a conversation to create hundreds of comments that have no point, many of them have no point of knowing what the reality is on the ground. So I would suggest if there is a question, there are principals in every building, there are board members, all of our email addresses exist on the website. We can get you the right person if you have a question. I really implore you to go to where the resource comes from instead of putting out the general question, which usually starts as a complaint and then it just devolves from there. I appreciate those that then do have some information and comment back as to some real facts, but really that should not be the source of where you get your information. So that's just a suggestion that you might want to go up there and talk to the people who actually know the answer.
Okay. Is that it?
Do we have anything for executive session? No?
No.
No. So that means that I would like to make a motion to adjourn tonight's meeting.
Second.
Questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.